Hello, my name is Mike Maisie and I'm originally from Australia, but I've been living for the last 8.5 years in Brno, and we're here at one of the jewels in the crown of Czech viticulture, the Šobez Vineyard, and we're presenting a series of lessons on wine tourism and how to speak about your wines in English. Please join us as we take a guided tour of this spectacular vineyard, as well as of the Lokar monastery for Znovinsnormal, to get an idea of how you can present your wines and your vineyards and your facilities to the international wine tourist. So we're here on one of the top terraces in one of the top vineyards in all of Czech Republic, Šobez. You might be able to just hear the river Dyje down the bottom, and we are in one of the vineyards very close to the Welsh Riesling section, which is what we're drinking in our glass at the moment. So the question is, how do you give a vineyard tour? Can I just say that you can say many things, and often it depends on who your audience is. Are they wine lovers, or are they just people who want to have a good time? What I can say, and what I really respect about many wine producers, especially people like Znovinsnormal, actually take their customers to the vineyard and drink the wine of that vineyard in the vineyard itself. I really like this concept. I don't think it's always necessary, but certainly it helps to create a wonderful atmosphere. And people will always forget most of what you tell them on a vineyard tour, but they will always remember how they feel and the atmosphere that they experienced in this spectacular vineyard. Okay, so we've been to the Šobez vineyard, and welcome to the second part of our wine English tourism lesson. We're here at the visitor center for Znovinsnormal, and behind me, next to the walking tour poster, you will see the wine tourism certificate, wines from Moravia. And why is this important? Well, if you are, let's say, an international traveler to the Czech Republic, when you see this, you have a guarantee that the tourism standards here meet a certain level. And that's always comforting if you don't know what's happening here in Czech Republic as a foreigner. Also, having this symbol allows you better promotional opportunities within the wine tourism sector of the Czech and Moravian tourism industry. So let's go in and see what we can see here in the Lokar monastery of Znovinsnormal. Okay, so what can you expect when you come to the Lokar monastery? Well, of course, there is no wine tourism without wine, and we have a friendly staff here.
Dobrý den. My si vám také dovolíme nabídnout tekutou pohlednici z Lounského kláštera. Je to kivé, rýnského Rieslinku a Sauvignon, je to do sucha. Prosím.
Thank you. So, we have our wine, and we saw before the wine tourism certificate on the outside of this building. And we have here what you could consider the Zlaté stránky of wine tourism, or the phone book of wine tourism. What does this certificate get you? Well, imagine that you're any kind of company. You want to have the largest advertisement possible, and that's what wine certification gets you. You get an excellent description of your winery and the tourism services that you offer in this phone book of wine tourism. So let's have a brief tour of the Lokar monastery and see what Znovin also offers on this excellent wine. One of the things that is perhaps most difficult about wine tourism is trying to satisfy everyone, because some people only want to drink and enjoy the wine in their glass, whereas other people, maybe in the same family or the same group of friends, come and they actually want to learn more. So what I appreciate about the Lokar monastery is that we have these rooms, such as this one, the terroir salon, where people can come and explore for themselves and learn a little bit more about the wines from the 4 different sub-regions of Morava or Moravia. So we have here a map of the Znojemska or Znojmo sub-region, and for your international guests this is very important. A small description in English about the local conditions, about the terroir and about the different varieties that grow here, and this gives people the opportunity to learn a little bit more if they want to. And that's really, really important for your customers coming from abroad. Okay, one of the things I appreciate about the Terroir Salon are these soil profiles from the different sub-regions of Moravia or Morava. And here in front of us are the typical soil profiles of the wine sub-region Znojemska. So we can see here things such as granite, slate, clay, and a variety of sandstones and marl and sandy loams and brown loams and so on. You have to be a little bit careful because some people love to talk about the soils and the influence it has on the grape growing and winemaking, and other people, they couldn't care at all what the soils are. So what I love about this aspect of the tourism here is that you give people a choice. You present them with a display and you can let them explore for themselves what they want to learn from their visit here to the local monastery. You know, for foreign visitors, especially foreign visitors from the New World, such as Australia or even America, to come in here, inside the underground cellars of Moravia, is something really special. You know, I've lived in Brno for a number of years, and people think Australia is exotic. But for Australians and for other people from the New World, coming here and to see all this history, see these beautiful old buildings and these cellars full of dusty bottles of wine, it's something really, really special. And it's something that your tourist will take away in their memories, to see this very historic place where wine has been made for centuries. So please, if you have a beautiful cellar, don't be afraid to show it off in front of all of your international guests, because this, I think, is what people will remember after their visit to a typical Moravian wine cellar. So it's one thing to actually get visitors to come to your cellar. It's another to actually encourage them to visit you again. And in fact, that's what you want if you want loyal customers to your winery. So I strongly suggest that you encourage your visitors to perhaps visit you again at one of the festivals advertised in the Land of Wine tourism brochure, because you want to have opportunities where your customers can meet you again and taste your outstanding wines. The other thing that I really appreciate about the Czech wine tourism industry is this day of open cellars, or you have these open cellar lanes. And again, please take advantage of the excellently published wine maps that help your customers to understand where you are and what you're doing. And here you can again encourage your visitors to come on the day of open cellars and enjoy excellent wine tourism. You have to remember that perhaps the wine tourist won't just visit your cellar, they will visit other cellars as well. But still, sharing the attention of your wine customer is better than not getting any at all. So I really encourage you to take the opportunity when visitors to come to give them enough information so that they can visit you again. One of the best ways that someone can remember your winery experience is for them to buy a bottle from you with your brand on the label. And one of the great things about Czech Republic, if I'm coming from America or Australia, is that you have these wonderful varieties that are grown only here, such as Palava, for example, a very typical variety from the Czech Republic. Now, if you are operating a small wine shop, well, an excellent wine shop such as this one, perhaps some of your customers might need a little help translating the varieties on the label. So for example, Frankovka would be Frankish, Zweigelt Kleber will be Zweigelt, Svatopářinecké will be St. Laurent. You might have to help your customer to understand what they are selecting because maybe these names are not familiar to them. One of the great things that I have to really respect about the Znovin portfolio is that as well as having these varieties that are only grown in the Czech Republic, they have other wines which are really not typical, but they've actually done very well, such as Viognier. You know, this is definitely a grape very popular in the New World and also in France, but you wouldn't expect such a variety to be grown here. If you continue, then you also see lots of different styles of wine, such as sparkling wine, rosé. This is great for your customer because they feel they have an excellent selection of what really excites them. Perhaps just a couple more examples of what Znovin does differently. Chenin Blanc, one of the great and underrated varieties of the Loire Valley and also of South Africa. And let's see what we have here. Okay, we've also got Semillon, one of the great white grape varieties of Bordeaux and also of Australia. And again, not typically grown here in the Czech Republic. So I guess one of the things that you should always be mindful of is that you want to tell your customers what makes you special as a winemaker. Finally, there is a sad reality that maybe you've given a really good wine experience to your customers and they appreciate what you've done, but for whatever reason, they cannot afford to buy a bottle from you. Well, what can you do? Again, Znovin have taken the initiative to perhaps bottle small samples, small packs of different varieties such as Sauvignon Blanc, Rhine Riesling, Zweigelt and Pinot Noir. And you can also buy these individually, so still the customer can walk away with some small purchase with your logo on the label that reminds them of their wonderful experience at your winery. Now it's not just limited to small bottles, perhaps things such as chocolate with your logo or a selection of jellies or jams and marmalades also with the logo of your winery can give the customer an opportunity to take home some small gift that will remind them of their experience with you. This is really important. We spoke before about making your vineyard guests comfortable, creating a right atmosphere, and of course it always helps to have a glass of the wine which was made from the vineyard that you're standing in. That's a great start. But perhaps it's not always practical for every particular vineyard tour. I do believe that one thing that every vineyard tour should answer is this: what makes my vineyard special? And we're standing here in Chobez. It's a UNESCO protected area. And if you see behind us these hills, and within 2 kilometers is the Austrian border. And 25 years ago, when we were still under the communist system, you would be shot if you were caught in this vineyard because you weren't allowed to. This was a buffer zone, and anyone caught in this vineyard who didn't have permission would be shot because they were thought to be escaping to Austria. So what a fantastic way to tell a story of your vineyard. Every vineyard has a story, and it's a really good idea if you can tell what makes your vineyard special to your customers. That way they can create a permanent memory of that special time and that special story in your vineyard.